The Minnesota Vikings pummel the Atlanta Falcons 42-21 and advance to 11-2 during the NFL regular season following a 5-touchdown performance by Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold threw 5 times more touchdown passes than Kirk Cousins in this ballgame. And this isn't just some ordinary game for Kirk Cousins. This is a game that anybody would want to win more badly than any other game besides a playoff game or a Super Bowl. This is Kirk Cousins coming back to Minnesota, splitting up with his former team because there is more money elsewhere, and the Vikings organization did not offer him the money that he thought he deserved or was worth, and throws 0 touchdown passes and 2 interceptions. Plus, there was a drive there where he almost threw another interception like 2 or 3 times. His arm got hit by Metellus. It fell just short of Bynum. He almost got picked off by Andrew Van Ginkel for a pick 6. The Minnesota Vikings, specifically Sam Darnold, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, outplay Kirk Cousins, and it wasn't even close. Fourth quarter, the Vikings pull away, 42-21. And there was a play in the third quarter when Darnold went deep to Jefferson. And I talked about this last week on my podcast. I said, Sam Darnold can do this 100 times better than Kirk Cousins. And that is keeping a play alive, being able to elude defenders in the backfield, scramble to his left or scramble to his right. When Kirk Cousins gets hit, he's like Tom Brady in the backfield. He's brittle. He can't move. He just goes down. And the biggest play of the day, Darnold to Jefferson, at least by the eyes. I mean, maybe there's a bigger play to Addison based on yardage, but the biggest, knockout, beautiful dagger of a play, Darnold to Jefferson, happened because of what Darnold can do in the pocket. And that's his ability to elude defenders, something Kirk Cousins cannot do. And let me just show you this screen right here. Kirk Cousins, spot track. Kirk Cousins signs a 4-year, $180 million contract with the Atlanta Falcons, including $50 million guaranteed at signing bonus, $100 million guaranteed, and an average annual salary of $45 million. In 2024, Cousins will earn a base salary of $12 million and a signing bonus of $50 million, while carrying a cap hit of $25 million and a dead cap value of $90 million. As far as I see it, the Atlanta Falcons are stuck with Kirk Cousins. And maybe they'll move off of him and, eat up 80% of his salary cap to trade him to somewhere else so that Michael Penix Jr. can become the starting quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons. But let me just set this straight. This is not an anti-Kirk Cousins podcast, because if we were going to do or make a decision, we would have made the same decision Kirk Cousins made. If you're going to play for the same company, and that is the NFL, or any company that you work for, and someone offered you 5 or 6 times the amount of money someone else was offering you, you would take that deal. So I get the booing Kirk Cousins, but let's not forget something. We all would have done the same thing Kirk Cousins did. He took the money, something we all would have done. Okay, Kirk Cousins got $100 million guaranteed. The amount of guaranteed money he got from the Vikings in his offer was nowhere near that. Vikings offered like a 2-year deal. The Atlanta Falcons offered a 4-year deal, up to $180 million. What are you going to take? You're going to take the money. So don't blame Kirk Cousins for taking the money, but this is more about applauding the Minnesota Vikings organization for taking a step of faith and moving off of him, something not every organization would do, taking a risk and trusting Sam Darnold as QB1, drafting J.J. McCarthy to be that bridge guy the following year, because like it or not, Darnold was always going to be QB1 this year. I said it, PA said it on my podcast, and just to talk about this game a little bit more, I think Kevin O'Connell purposely was giving the needle to Kirk Cousins in this ballgame. I don't think it's by happen chance that Darnold has his career game best game as a Minnesota Viking, best game of the year against Kirk Cousins. I think Kevin O'Connell did that on purpose. And he's a human being just like we all are. So the fact that he's going to light up Kirk Cousins with a 5-touchdown day from Sam Darnold was purposeful. And not only does Cousins play poorly, he'd throw up a couple yards, a classic Kirk Cousins game where he throws for almost 350 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 picks. He was not good. And Raheem Morris was asked after the game about Cousins' future, but said he did not consider replacing him with Penix in the fourth quarter. Kirk Cousins is our quarterback. He played significantly better than last week. We're going to look at everything to win. And Kirk is definitely a part of that. That's a very wishy-washy comment that didn't really mean a whole lot from Raheem Morris, the Atlanta Falcons head coach. And just some more touching points on the Minnesota Vikings offense and Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was phenomenal. Will he win MVP? I don't know. Should he be in the running for MVP? Absolutely. And I just said I don't know if he'll win MVP, but the MVP is one of the worst awards in the NBA and the NFL because it just goes to the most popular player that is playing well that season. Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson. And I'm sure those players were deserving of it. But you throw out Josh Allen's name, who hasn't won one yet, who has the Bills 10-2, maybe 11-2 after they beat the Rams, if they beat the Rams. And you look at Sam Darnold, 11-2 Vikings, 28 touchdowns, 10 picks. Great year, phenomenal year. But who are they going to give it to? They're going to give it to Josh Allen. It's a reputation award. He's a top 5 quarterback in the league. He has the Bills as one of the top teams in the AFC. Of course they're going to give it to Josh Allen. But just to get a little spicy on this episode, you look at the stats in this game, and Jordan Addison has 8 catches for 133 yards. Justin Jefferson has 7 catches for 132 yards. So very identical numbers. Addison has 3 touchdowns. Jefferson has 2 touchdowns. What's amazing about that is that Jefferson wasn't targeted until like 4 minutes left in the second quarter. That's when he got his first catch. So all of those yards happened in practically 2 quarters and touchdowns. But here's where it gets spicy. Earlier in the year, Sam Darnold had tunnel vision towards Justin Jefferson. And rightfully so, to some degree. Jefferson is the best wide receiver in football. He commands every single NFL defense that goes against the Minnesota Vikings to shift 2 or 3 players over to him on every single play. And he makes unreal catches. But when Sam Darnold was tunnel visioning Justin Jefferson, he was struggling. Because defenses send 3 guys at Jefferson on almost every single play. So you need to spread the ball around. And when there's 3 guys looking towards Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, Naylor, those guys got one-on-one coverage. And what we are seeing now, and this is why we've seen a trajectory shift from Darnold. He was locking in on Jefferson. Jefferson says, throw me the ball. Trust me. Do your thing. But now we're seeing a Sam Darnold that's seeing the entire field. And when he targets Jordan Addison more, the Minnesota Vikings offense is actually better. You might think that's backwards. It's like, oh, you got to target Jefferson. He's the best wide receiver in football. When he drives 3 defenders and Addison is one-on-one, he's a wide receiver 1 playing a wide receiver 2 role. And what we saw in this game was Darnold tossing it up to Addison, tossing it up to Addison, tossing it up to Addison, one-on-one. And Addison was making plays. So the more the Minnesota Vikings and Sam Darnold target Addison, the more dominant the Minnesota Vikings offense is going to be. So it's not that difficult to understand because you throw it to Jefferson and there's 2 or 3 guys lurking around him at all times. Well, throw the ball to Addison. And that's the shift we've seen from Sam Darnold, most likely because of the coaching from Kevin O'Connell. So it's cool. It's cool. And Kevin O'Connell was asked following this game, he was asked, this is a tweet from Kevin Seifert, who is a Vikings reporter for ESPN, says, the usual chatty Kevin O'Connell smiled and offered a one-word answer when Ben Gessling asked if today makes him feel validated for this year's QB transition from Kirk Cousins to Sam Darnold? And he says no. One-word answer, no, which means yes. Kevin O'Connell is the least headline podium head coach the NFL maybe has ever seen. So, of course, he's never going to say anything like that. But you know who got the game ball after that game? Sam Darnold, probably Byron Murphy. When that video comes out of Kevin O'Connell giving away the game balls, Sam Darnold got a game ball. His greatest career game ever. And here's a tweet that really puts things into perspective. It comes from Mark Craig. Last 4 games. Sam Darnold, 11 touchdowns, 0 picks. Kirk Cousins, 0 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. That's rookie numbers. That's what we were seeing Bo Nix and Caleb Williams do earlier in the year. 0 touchdowns last 4 games, and you're a quarterback? That's embarrassingly bad. The ball is in your hands on every single play. Kirk Cousins threw the ball 37 times against the Vikings. 0 touchdowns. Who knows what he did the prior weeks? He threw 4 picks against the Chargers alone. 0 touchdowns the last 4 weeks. That is bad. And the Minnesota Vikings made the right decision in switching from Cousins to Darnold. And, the conversation has shifted towards, can the Vikings re-sign Darnold? And the answer is no. The answer is no. They have no chance. Because Darnold's agent is licking his chops right now, and so is Sam Darnold. This is the one time in his career where he can splash with some team in the NFL that thinks that they can recreate what he did in Minnesota. They probably can't because of Kevin O'Connell and Justin Jefferson and Addison, but they think they can because they are prideful and they got massive egos. So he's going to splash somewhere else, and good for Sam Darnold. He should. He's bounced around, finally found a home, and now he's going to find another home because he finally deserved his big contract. And this is generational wealth. He's not going to sign a 2-year deal with Minnesota because you know what's going to happen? If he has one bad year on the Vikings, kiss $90 million goodbye. It's not going to happen. He's going to sign with the Raiders and the Giants. And you know what? Adam Schefter earlier today reported that the Minnesota Vikings and Sam Darnold are not even having contract negotiation talk right now because the Vikings know it and Sam Darnold knows it. There is no reunion next year. And you know what? No one needs to be bitter about it because this is a completely different situation than Kirk Cousins. Sam Darnold was a rental for 1 year. The Vikings want to move on to J.J. McCarthy, and Sam Darnold wants to splash big somewhere else. Sam Darnold after the game. It was a fun time in there today. Our fans came in ready to roll. Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings organization are just having a blast. Like, this is awesome. This is great. And the Vikings are 11-2. 1 game behind the Detroit Lions, 2 games ahead of the Green Bay Packers. So this is huge for the Minnesota Vikings moving forward because now they got space from the Packers. And you know what? If they beat the Lions in last week of the season, then they have a chance to win the division. And not only the division, but a bye week too to clinch the first overall seed as playoff contenders. And just one more thing. This doesn't relate to Sam Darnold, but just one more rant following the game. I don't understand why more kickers in the NFL don't force the opposing team to return the football on kickoffs. You kick it into the end zone, the team's going to take the free gift of the 30-yard line. I mean, how many times the Atlanta Falcons kick it short and the Vikings were forced to start at like the 25? I get you risk the possibility of a guy taking it to the house or taking it to the 40 or 50 or somewhere in your territory. But what are the likely chances of that happening? More times than not, and it's not even close, you're going to tackle the guy at like the 25, maybe 20-yard line. So Minnesota Vikings kick it short, maybe not on purpose, The guy fumbles the ball, and the Minnesota Vikings recover. They go up by 14 points. You put the ball in play. You make something happen. You put the ball at the 30-yard line, you only need like 25 yards until you're in field goal range. So you put the ball at the 30, that's a massive advantage for any offense in the NFL. So this idea that you should kick it off into the end zone and let them kneel, I don't understand that strategy one bit. So applaud the Minnesota Vikings for maybe making a correction, or maybe it was a bad kick or whatever it was. But I want to see that going forward. I want to see the Minnesota Vikings kick it short. Let the guy return it. And see if you can tackle him before the 30, instead of just giving him a free 30 yards. Goodness gracious. My goodness gracious. Anyways, Sam Darnold on his passionate sideline celebration on the fourth quarter. I just felt the buzz. He was buzzing. 5 touchdown passes. Kirk Cousins, 0 touchdown passes. What a game. Sam Darnold outplays Kirk Cousins, and the Minnesota Vikings dominate the Falcons 42-21. 11-2. Wow.